when you look at in South Africa, you find that there are many other different races which are playing part in this. We have, for instance, Indians, which are in South Africa, and they are participating in economy. They are out there doing their things. Now, are we maybe trying to exclude or reduce the issue of racism to only a zebra debate? Or is there something that we're missing about other races such as Indians and others?
So the truth of the matter is that most Indians and most Chinese look down on Black people. Mm. The difference is that they've never colonized this country. They've never set up policies to push Black people off land. They've never jailed Black people or beaten or killed Black people. That's why the highest emotions are assigned to white people in particular. But yes, we do have to have the discussion around the Indians and the Chinese in particular. The reason, again, they look down on Black people is because I think more than anything, Black people have not found a way to love themselves. If Black people love themselves, they wouldn't want to buy from Indian businesses. They wouldn't want to buy from Chinese businesses. They wouldn't want to buy from white businesses. They would buy from Black businesses. And similarly, they would also work for Black businesses. If they have a lot of money, they would send their children to schools with Black teachers. But we can see that, like I said earlier, Black people constantly want to move towards whiteness. They want to move to the white suburbs. They want to speak good English like we're doing now. They want to dress in the best European clothing, and they want to work for big white companies, which means Black people don't trust each other. They might love each other. We might love Black, but we don't trust Black. We might hate whites. We might hate Indians. We might hate Chinese, but we trust them. That's why we buy from them. That's how we lost the spaza shops, for example. And because of that, all these other nations can see it. They can see that Black people don't love and trust each other, or they don't trust each other, and they don't care about themselves that much. So they're like, if these people don't like themselves, why should we love them? Why should we be understanding of them?
I get your point as to if like Black people do not love one another because they will buy from each other's businesses and support each other business-wise and other wise. But then one would make an argument that actually us buying from other races, supporting them, it's a way of showing our non-racialistic attitude towards them.
That's not true.
I think it's an argument of, because there is another argument which we happen to be ignoring. You listen to political parties such as EFF, and I think we will mention EFF here only because it's the political party which is much more vocal and entangled with racial issues. They use some words such as Black cannot be racist. I have one audience here who have already sent a question about whether indeed Black can be racist or not. And he says, can you ask Penuel whether a Black person can be a racist as far as economical power is concerned? And he further says, can a white man feel as much as Black men confronted with racism?
So for most people, they feel that Blacks can never be racist.
Yes.
Particularly because Blacks do not have economic power. But the definition is not about economic power.
Yeah.
The definition is about prejudice.
Yes.
The definition says that if you bring a white girl home, your Black parents might be very unhappy with that. Mm. That's racism, because it means they might like the girl, they might think she's a good girl, but they just don't like her because of the color of her skin. So according to technicality, as soon as you prejudice against someone because of the race, because of the color of their skin, that's racism. But for most Black people, and obviously for the EFF, they focus very much on the economic argument. And currently, it's very true that it's difficult for Black people to fight economically against other stronger races. And because, to what you said, we buy from Indians and Chinese and whites, you'd assume that, look, we can't be racist because we're buying from you. But I wanted to say that the reason we buy from them is not because we support their race or because we don't see race. People go and buy where things are cheap and where they get good quality, not because they're non-racialist. In the same way, the reason blacks don't buy from other blacks is not necessarily because it's blacks. It's because maybe the price is high or the service is not good.
Because I remember one day I had an argument with my friend about this, and she put it to me that now if ever I have a black fellow who is selling vegetables here, and just some few meters away there is a white person who's selling the same vegetables, but then I go to the black person, bearing it in mind that I'm supporting my fellow black. When I arrived there, I realized that actually this person doesn't take care of the product that he's selling. His fruits doesn't even encourage me to support him. But then when I move away to the white person, I find that that white person is actually taking the customers serious. He makes time to make sure that he asks from the customers whether they are okay, and he's taking care of the product that is selling. Is it the issue that we should address around who have resources to run an exemplary business, or is it the issue around who is actually just much more caring towards whatever business is doing?
It's just a training thing. Black people have only been introduced to business lately.
Yes.
So we haven't been trained, and we haven't been in business for decades and centuries to understand customer service, pricing, and those type of things. That's all it is to me. Yes. I think once we adequately train Black people in business, there's no reason why they can't run businesses just as well as other races. But because we're still new in it, that's why it's taking us time. That's all. It's the same way white people can't dance, and white people are not really good at soccer. They haven't been fully trained in those things. Once they get fully trained, they become better. Once we get fully trained in business, which we've been kept out of for so long, I promise you, I've met a lot of Black business people that are very, very professional, and it's just because they've been well trained, not because of the color of their skin.
Yeah. So now I think, like, when we talk of this issue of racism, it's we tend to forget or maybe sideline the Blacks who have established themselves as a group of a certain elite group. The Black who are I think I've lost you. Are you still there?
I'm still with you. I'm coming back. My apologies, but I'm still here on audio. All right. Please carry on.
All right. What I'm saying is that there is a group of Black elites that we cannot ignore in this kind of conversation. There is a group of Blacks who are hiring other Blacks to work for themselves. And we often hear some stories of those Black oppressing their Black workers. We often hear the stories of those Black actually prioritizing white people over their fellow Blacks. Do we also term it racism or what?
I definitely term it racism, because again, according to definition,
it's a Black to Black kind of a hatred. You term it racism.
Yes, as long as you are prejudiced against another race.
Yeah.
By definition, it is racism. The fact that you share the same race is not good enough, according to the definition. Obviously, other people would call it something else, but when we use English words, English words have got definitions. So you can always look them up on Google or in Oxford and then see if it fits the definition. But obviously, people come up with their own beliefs of what those things are. They'll say, look, it's just self-hate, it's black on black, but it is racism because it means you are choosing the white person over the Black person just because he is white. The other sad thing when it comes to business is that business is driven by profit. And even Black people that come into business, they want to make money. And if they know that a black employee will help them make more money than a white employee, unfortunately, they will go for the white employee. That's the same decision that's made when black parents send their children to white schools with white teachers. They believe that the white teachers will offer a better teaching service to their children than the black teachers.
I've heard that before.
So because they're like, I want my child to succeed,
yes,
and this black school doesn't look like the one,
yes,
I'm going to send my child to the school that I think is better.
And
that
I
happens
think,
to be the white school.
I think
form of racism.
if we are about to, if we are to be honest with this, I think actually the issue of racism should also transcend. I wanted to say something about the group of black people who are working hard, not because they want to fight racism, but then because they want to find themselves in the other side that is better, the other side of this racism. One day I posted my picture on WhatsApp status, and I wrote jokingly that I'm actually just a proletariat who is seeking not to be independent, but to be included in the system. Then it actually made one of my friends angry that how can you say you're not fighting to be independent, but to be included in the system? But and I was like, but that is the reality of so many black people, including those that you look up to them as your activists, as your leaders, including some of the people who are shouting these things louder than anyone in the political parties. Because once they have money, the first thing they do, they move to the white suburbs, while they remain calling themselves Pan-Africans. They remain calling themselves the activists who are fighting for the marginalized blacks. So I'm just saying this to attest to your point that actually most of the black people are fighting not to find themselves independent or not to end this racial class, but then to be included within the system. Can we say racism is actually fueled by inequality? And can we say if we are to witness a state where everyone is equal along the racial lines, we can end racism?
I don't think so. If you look at the rest of the world, even when black people are rich, white people still look down on them. If you look at white people versus Chinese, white people versus Indians, even if they are of equal financial standing, they still look down on each other. So I don't think it's purely about economic standing. I think there's just a feeling from different races that other races are dirty. Maybe they're too hairy. Maybe the food they eat, their cultural beliefs and those things, it's just stuff that they don't find appealing.
There is just this intolerance.
So I think it goes beyond the economy. I think if all of us had the same amount of money, I don't think that racism would disappear. You know, you see it even amongst black people. There are black people who discriminate against each other because of how dark you are, and they treat lighter-skinned black people better. You know, so the same thing happened with Indians. Indians that are light-skinned are treated better than dark-skinned Indians. You know what I mean? So prejudice, racism based on, or let me just say discrimination based on the tone of your skin. Whether you're black, white, Indian, Chinese, or even within those groups, if you're darker, lighter, if you maybe a white person with red hair or whatever, people do treat you differently because they see you as an other, as foreign to what they are accustomed to and used to.
So we have, and then the political parties, which I think they have their role to play. For me, political parties are some sort like a microcosm of racism. We have parties like your Black First, Land First, which was honest about the policies of their party. Like, this is black only. We do not accept the membership of white people. It reminded me of what we read in the history about apartheid, how honest it was that this is whites only area, this is black only area. Then we